owes my family an apology. More so because a lot of times he'll have this perspective of it was a joke or I was trying to be funny, and it did not land at all.
Scott never saw it coming. Kimmi has finally made the decision to sign the divorce papers, and now, fans are left in shock. The once golden couple of love and marriage, Huntsville has seen their love story turn into a headline of drama. But what went wrong? What happened behind the picture-perfect smiles they once shared? Let's dive into the messy truth behind Kimmi's bold decision that's been shaking up reality TV. Kimmi and Maurice looked perfect on TV. They smiled for the cameras, supported each other, and worked hard to build a life together.
Do you feel like in your other friend groups that Maurice is out there cheating too?
Right, yeah, that's not for me to answer. You can go ask Maurice that, not me.
At least, that's how it seemed from the outside. But behind the scenes, things weren't as picture-perfect as they appeared. Over time, cracks began to show, and the truth started to unfold. Kimmi is done waiting, and she's finally ready to walk away from a marriage that's been falling apart for a long time. The issues in their marriage didn't appear overnight. In fact, they had been simmering for quite a while. Kimmi always tried to support Maurice, but his love for his work seemed to come first. He was constantly chasing new deals, ideas, and opportunities. Late-night calls, long meetings, and frequent work trips became a normal part of their routine. But as time passed, Kimmi began to feel more and more pushed aside.
To my husband, do you think that my husband isn't gonna say that to me? And most of it is because he gives her this much leash, and she takes advantage of it because she knows he doesn't want to piss her off because he wants Monster.
At first, she kept quiet, hoping that all of the sacrifices would pay off in the end. She believed that Maurice was doing all of this for their future. But as the months went on, Kimmi started to feel invisible. Her feelings seemed to be ignored, and she couldn't help but wonder if she even mattered anymore. She once shared a heartbreaking thought: sometimes you wonder where you fit in their plan. That statement hit hard because it was clear that she felt lost, even in her own marriage. Maurice may have thought that his endless work and business ventures were for their future, but what good is all the success if it means losing the person you're supposed to be building that future with? As if things weren't hard enough, the couple also faced struggles in co-parenting. Maurice had a son from a previous relationship, which meant his ex-wife, Kira, was still very much a part of their lives. Kimmi tried to be understanding at first. She wanted to keep the peace, to make it work. But it wasn't easy. Kira was around more than Kimmi was comfortable with, and important parenting decisions were being made without her input.
I don't really know if you can help me like through this. Like, honestly, just you being there, picking me up, that was help enough, you know?
When Kimmi signed the papers,
slowly, Kimmi started to feel like an outsider in her own family. She wasn't just second place, she was at the bottom of the list. First came work, then came Kira and parenting, and somewhere at the very end of the list was Kimmi. This situation wasn't just frustrating, it was heartbreaking. She had always tried to support Maurice, but now she was the one being ignored. Over time, the tension between them grew. Kimmi's feelings of loneliness and neglect deepened, but she didn't speak out right away.
Maurice and Kimmi, love and marriage, Huntsville. Why is she talking for this grown A man? Go watch that video.
Instead, she quietly endured, hoping that things would improve. But it became harder and harder to keep quiet, especially as things at home started to deteriorate. When the couple's Instagram began to show a noticeable shift, fans started to pick up on the changes. Kimmi's feed, once full of couple photos and happy family memories, was now filled with posts about self-care, motivational quotes, gym selfies, and moments of solitude. It became obvious that Kimmi was beginning to prioritize herself, and people noticed. She wasn't waiting for Maurice to change anymore, she was taking care of herself. But the most significant clue came in one simple, powerful Instagram story. It showed her hand holding a pen as she signed some papers. The caption read, "It's time." That post said everything. There was no drama, no explanations, just a quiet goodbye. It was a simple yet bold statement that left fans stunned. For some, though, it wasn't entirely surprising. The signs had been there for months, if not longer. The cracks in their marriage had been visible to those who were paying attention, and it seemed that Kimmi had finally reached her breaking point. Every woman has her limits, and Kimmi reached hers. She didn't leave because she stopped loving Maurice. She left because she had been made to feel like she didn't matter anymore. It wasn't just a breakup, it was a moment of self-realization. Kimmi had tried her best to make things work, but she couldn't keep fighting for someone who wasn't fighting for her. Maurice had been so focused on work, constantly building and planning for their future, that he neglected the present. The present was Kimmi, and Maurice was no longer there for her. He wasn't there for family dinners. He wasn't there for late-night talks. He was always somewhere else on the phone, in meetings, chasing the next big thing. Kimmi wasn't just lonely, she was living a life of quiet solitude. It was like living with a ghost, no laughter, no affection, just silence.
We're legitimately friends that hung out trying to do some things for the more disenfranchised portion of our town. And I like that similarity even in the Bell Collective when they first started as well, was in regards to some of rebuilding some of the portions of town that are meaningful to us.
At some point, patience runs out, and Kimmi's patience had worn thin. She had spent years trying to be understanding, trying to be supportive, but no one can stay in a relationship where they feel like they're invisible. Eventually, the silence was louder than the love they once shared. And it wasn't just the silence at home that hurt. Rumors started to swirl. People talked. Friends sent Kimmi screenshots and text messages that suggested Maurice wasn't as faithful as he claimed to be. While there was no concrete evidence of infidelity, the words in those messages still stung. They were too close, too personal, too secretive. Kimmi began to question everything. She wondered, is he even mine anymore? The trust she once had for Maurice began to fade, and soon, she started to see him differently. She didn't want to accuse him, but the more she looked at him, the more she realized that something wasn't right. That feeling of unease didn't go away. It stayed with her, quietly eating away at the foundation of their marriage. The real breaking point came one night after yet another argument. Kimmi looked at Maurice and asked him one simple question: do you even still want this marriage? There was no yelling, no fighting, just silence. A heavy, cold silence that spoke louder than any words could. In that moment, Kimmi realized that she had been holding on to someone who had already let go. She had been begging for his time, begging for his attention, but it was like talking to a wall. That night, something inside her shifted. She stopped begging. She stopped waiting. She realized that it was time for her to choose herself, and that's exactly what she did. Kimmi didn't leave out of anger. She left in peace. She had fought hard for the marriage, but she couldn't keep fighting for someone who wasn't fighting for her. In the end, it wasn't about betrayal or bitterness. It was about self-respect, self-love, and knowing when it's time to walk away. Kimmi had given it her all, and when she saw that it wasn't enough, she finally chose herself. As the situation continues to unfold, there's one thing that's become painfully clear. Kimmi's decision to walk away wasn't an easy one, but it was necessary. Over the years, she tried to be the supportive wife, always putting Maurice's needs, work, and even the family's well-being before her own. She gave everything she had, but somewhere along the way, she started to lose herself. It's something we've all seen before, putting so much into someone else's dreams, while forgetting your own. And you can't blame her for finally saying, enough is enough. It wasn't about Maurice being a bad person, it was about her realizing she deserved more. She didn't need to wait around for someone who wasn't willing to meet her halfway. It wasn't about being angry, it was about reclaiming her peace. And sometimes, leaving a relationship isn't a sign of weakness, it's a sign of strength. Kimmi's journey, from posting self-care photos to that powerful moment when she signed the papers, speaks volumes. It shows the power of self-love, the importance of setting boundaries, and most of all, the realization that you have to love yourself enough to walk away from something that's not serving you anymore. She didn't need anyone's validation. The simple act of signing those papers was a statement loud enough for the world to hear. Now, let's talk about what's next for Kimmi. She's taken back control of her life, and while the road ahead might not be easy, it's her road. It's her time to focus on herself, rediscover her passions, and build a future on her own terms. She's no longer defined by the marriage or her role as Morris's wife. She's Kimmi, a woman who's been through the storm, and now she's ready to rise above it all. For Maurice, this is a wake-up call. He might have been focused on building a future with his career and his business ventures, but it's important to remember that a successful life isn't just about business. It's about love, connection, and making sure the people you care about feel seen and valued. Maurice has a lot of reflecting to do, and it's unclear where this will leave him. But for now, Kimmi has made her choice, and she's moving forward with or without him. Fans have been glued to their screens, following every twist and turn, but we have to respect Kimmi's decision to move on. After all, we've all been there, whether in friendships, relationships, or family dynamics, when we realize we're giving more than we're getting. And when you've reached your limit, you know it's time to make a change. So, what does this all mean for love and marriage, Huntsville? Will this drama continue to unfold on screen, or will it just be a chapter of Kimmi's life that she's choosing to leave behind? We'll have to wait and see, but one thing's for sure, Kimmi is not the same woman who walked into that marriage all those years ago. She's stronger, wiser, and ready to embrace whatever comes next. In the end, Kimmi's story is a reminder for all of us. Never forget to take care of yourself. Never lose sight of who you are and what you deserve. You don't have to settle for anything less than happiness. And when it's time to go, don't be afraid to make that bold move, because sometimes, the best thing you can do for your future is walk away from what no longer serves you. So, let me know what you think. Do you think Kimmi made the right decision? How do you feel about how things went down between her and Maurice? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe if you haven't already. And as always, stay tuned for more updates. I'll see you in the next video.